Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Little Art Studio podcast. My name is Ashlyn McKibben. I'm going to be your host today, and I am here with Mateo Zapata, and I am going to let him introduce himself.
Hey, Ashlyn. Thank you for having me. It's a wonderful project to be a part of. So little rundown. I am a fine art photographer. Uh, I also incorporate a lot of dance and movement in my work, and I do sculptural activations of specific locations. So I work closely with dancers and musicians and capture everything through photography, and that's how I bring all my work together.
Yeah. I am sitting in his studio. We are in the Bakehouse in Wynwood, which is in Miami, Florida. Mateo has a really interesting way of how he ended up in this space, and I would like for you to tell us about it.
So in 2018, when I got my BFA, and I had my BFA show, someone saw my work and they really liked it, and anonymously, they said, "Here is a year's worth of studio space." So they sponsored my studio for a year, and after the year, the bakehouse, they asked me, "Do you want to stay here?" And I said, "Of course."
Yeah, so you've been
And
here for a while now.
yeah, since 2018.
That's when we met too. We were just talking about it's been so long, and if you guys are following the show, I had Star Sarajevo as my first episode, and she's the one that introduced us and connected us through one of her projects that we were on, which was the Bold Beauty Project. I think was that the one that
No, it was
no,
the
I'm sorry.
Compassion
I didn't. I
Project.
wasn't in the Bold Beauty. I curated that talk. I
Yes,
wasn't in that though. Yeah, it was the Compassion Project
the
that we worked on
Compassion
together,
Project.
which was super cool.
Yeah, and yeah, the studio is like Star. She came to the bakehouse looking for photographers, and I actually met her downstairs, just coming up to my studio. She was just looking at photos on the wall, and I introduced myself, and she told me about her project, and she's like, "I would love to have you on board,"
Yeah,
and that's how we met. And it was just such a beautiful interaction.
yeah. For your person that you had for the Bold Beauty Project, or sorry, why do I keep saying that? For the Compassion Project,
Yeah.
didn't your person end up photographing you as well?
Yes. So the person that I photographed, she also she when after she got out of jail, um, she started her own photography business long hair,
Yeah.
my long dreadlocks, and she just found me fascinating. So she photographed me, and that has been one of the best photos that anyone has ever taken
Yeah.
of me. And I've used it for pretty much everything: my business cards, my
It was
website,
like perfect.
everything.
It was so you. Like you literally
Yeah,
see you in it. It was
yeah.
perfect.
She caught me in such a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about your hair.
Okay.
So you guys see him now, you know, clean cut now.
Yeah.
When I met Mateo, he had dreads like down to your knees, I think,
Yes.
literally. Kind of give us insight to that and what you I don't know, like cuz you had this whole like philosophical thing about your hair and I loved it and
Yeah, so I grew my hair for 15 years and I cut it uh, just under a year ago. It was last year in July that I cut
yeah.
it. So it hasn't even been a year yet.
Yeah.
But I grew it for 15 years, and it became part of my persona.
Mhm.
Uh, and it was this idea that you hold on to the things that are dearest to you, and most of the people that I met in my adult life,
Mhm.
met me with my hair, and I captured a lot of great memories. So it became part of my journey.
Mhm.
However, last year I felt that that chapter had culminated, and it was time for the next part in my journey. And that's when I decided to cut it. For a few years, everyone kept asking me, "When are you gonna cut hair? When are you gonna cut hair?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "When I'm ready."
Yeah.
It was just one random day. I was in here in my studio editing photos late at night, and it just felt like the right moment.
Yeah.
So I cut it.
Oh my god. I remember well, I mean, I feel like in general hair holds a lot of energy.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I feel like now, I mean, I had hair that I could sit on it, back I think probably when we first met, I had hair that I could sit on. It was so long. And I feel like as soon as I cut it, I just felt like all of that energy of like things that had happened to me just like go away. And it
Yeah.
just feels like, I don't know, it's like a completely new start. You feel like a new person. And it just feels, I don't know, like a release in a way. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I loved
Rejuvenating.
it. Yeah, literally rejuvenating. It feels so good to let go of it. I feel like anytime something bad happens to me, I'm like ready to cut my hair. Like immediately I'm like, I gotta cut this off. Like let go of it.
And it's also there are so many things that are constantly changing, that for me keeping my hair for that long,
Hmm.
it was a constant in my life, so it was a bit reassuring.
Hmm.
uh just kept me grounded as
Yeah.
well, with everything changing so rapidly around me. But then I would forget about my hair,
Hmm.
and I would see a picture of myself from behind, or someone will point it out to me, and then I'm reminded of how long my hair is,
Yeah.
and I realized that my hair is also changing, but just gradually. And
Yeah.
because I was with it every single day, I didn't notice it too much. But it's just that balance between constant and change.
Yeah. Oh, what was that? Oh, I was like, there's a little beep.
No,
There's
that's my
so
watch.
many devices that could be beeping right now. So I'm just
The simplest one.
no, it's okay. It's okay. No, that's really amazing. I actually have never thought about it like that as far as being attached to it. I think that I did have an attachment to it for a while because my hair was long my whole life and I'd
Mm.
never seen myself with short hair, and then just to like cut 30 something inches off from it all at once, just like ready. And I don't know. In that moment, I was just like, "This feels crazy. Do it." But
It's
yeah,
a big change.
it is. It is. It's super good, and I think that whenever people want to have like kind of a forceful transition in their life, even if they're not kind of ready, just cut your hair off because it
Yes.
like literally it'll just like change your perspective on everything.
Oh, absolutely. And it's great that you mentioned that. When someone wants to go through a transition, it, most of the time, cutting someone's hair, like that's the
Yeah.
first step. You see yourself differently in the mirror.
Hmm.
uh Therefore, your mind starts thinking differently, and your perspective shifts, and I feel like it helps you transition from one state of being to the next.
Yeah. I feel like I've been recently kind of I've been having this loss of, I guess, attachment to things where it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about the hair. I don't care
Mm,
about this. And it's just like life is just going.
yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, I have to stay attached to this one thing forever. But yeah, everybody's different with it. But I do recommend the hair
Yeah.
whenever you can. I think it's super good. And it's cool. Like, that was so drastic. Um,
It really was. I mean, to this day, people that just see me and haven't seen me with my haircut,
yeah. When you
they're
walked into my apartment, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Who is that guy?
yeah, because like I said, like I was growing it for 15 years, so most of the people that I've known for my adult life have known me with long hair,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's hard for me to recognize myself sometimes still,
Yeah.
to get used to it. But it's a good change.
Yeah. I want to get into a little bit about your work,
Okay.
because I think it's interesting how much you use like movement and those sculptural elements and stuff like that. I kind of want to talk about kind of where your work started and how it's come about to be what it is now.
Okay.
So, like maybe talk about your exhibition that you were kind of discovered in that moment. I want to know like the work that they saw on the wall and how it's different now from what we're sitting in front of.
Okay. Yeah. So the work that they saw on the wall, in my BFA exhibition. It was a series titled Congruous Contradictions. And it's a series where I took the human body and I created abstract landscapes with the human anatomy. And the work that I'm doing now still holds a lot of that core value of treating the body as a landscape. Uh, but it has evolved to sometimes incorporate into a bit more of the environment that surrounds us. Um, and I play a little bit more with contradicting geometry. So the human anatomy is organic geometry, and like the work that you see right behind you, there is very rigid geometry. So that's a good contradiction. And when two things are opposed and put in conversation with one another, they highlight each other's differences. So I like to play around with that concept.
Yeah.
And as far as the movement, it was in college that I really felt enamored with movement. Um, in school, I went to an art school, so there was a dance division, there's a theater division, there's a music, there's a visual arts, which I was part of. And in the hallways, I became friends with dancers, and they asked me, "Hey, I need some photos. Can you take some photos of me?" And then I saw them dance, I saw them move, and I just fell in love.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to work with dance for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And just thinking about it, we're all constantly moving. Everything is constantly moving, and movement is something that we can all relate to. Movement is life. Movement is energy, and that which doesn't move doesn't get better. So I'm always looking for ways to just sort of like narrate what's happening on in life and relate it to everyone. And I feel like movement is something that can do that.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so theoretical and also literal at the same time. Oh my God, what you just said. Yeah, if there is no movement, fuck. It's cool though because everything you do is still, no? Are you doing video
So
now or?
I've been slowly diving more into video.
Mhm.
I feel that it's inevitable in the world that we live in today, and I've always been fascinated by video as well. I'm a huge movie fan, and I will eventually move more into video. I'm video is an agglomeration of still images.
Yeah.
So and that has movement within itself.
Yeah.
So it's only natural for me to evolve into video.
I could see you being a brilliant cinematographer.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly. I'm
That is
like
a life
kind
goal.
of been sitting waiting and I'm like, when is Mateo really gonna get into it? Because I could see it for sure. I think it would be
Thank
really
you.
interesting. Especially the environmental stuff that I see. I know that you take like phone videos and you'll post it on like Instagram and stuff like that. But I think really seeing even maybe dualities of what you're doing. So the photo, like have a video running and also be doing photos at the same time and almost have like a duality or something and interweave them. I could really see it from an outsider, looking at what you're doing. I think it's really cool. I also like what you've got going on, like with stuff here. If you're watching the video version, if not, you can go to YouTube or social media, whatever, and see the pieces that are behind us. I feel like you always interact your work together, so many photos together, and I think that's super cool as well.
Yeah, and so because I am primarily based with photo and still imagery, uh, I I look for ways to incorporate movement. So if you see this piece behind me, even though it's a photograph and there's multiple images of the same image. So the title of this piece is called La Repetición, which is the repetition, the repetition. And it's two images, but I printed it in multiple versions. It's actually quite a long process. It started in film photography, then I went to lithography, then I went to digital print, and that's movement in itself. The reason, one of the many reasons why I love photography is that it forces you to slow down. Slow down your
Especially film and
yeah.
alternative process, you have no choice. There's no rushing it. You're sitting down and you're shutting up with it for a while.
Yes. And you're engaging in conversation with the work
Yeah.
more heavily than digital. Digital, you're also engaging with it, but there's a very quick feedback, and sometimes that conversation between you and the medium, it goes overlooked. Whereas, as you mentioned, yeah, with alternative processes with film, you're forced to slow down. So in a world that everything is moving so rapidly, I'm a stickler for still photography.
Yeah.
And channeling that to people to slow down and appreciate and admire the still moments in life.
I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about this, and they were like, well, the industry's video, which, things transition and whatever. Maybe social media is video now. People lean more onto short form video content. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you're not going to hang a video on your wall.
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the day, you're going to hang a photo on the wall. No matter what kind of imagery it is, it's still going to be around. I don't
Yeah.
think that it's just going to go obsolete. I think it is something that is a consistent future, whether or not, we transition out of handmade processes or whatever. It's still going to be like hanging photos on the wall.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day, what are we doing? People aren't just going to have empty homes,
Yeah.
So I think, and same with galleries, I think that people still want those tangible experiences to go and stand in front of artwork and, read the bio and read the thought process. And I don't think that's going to go away.
I don't think so either. I think that it might take a backseat for in the near future.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, I think it'll forever be a part of our society.
Yeah.
There's a plethora of people that just enjoy diving into an image and transcending or transporting to a place and time, or it's like reading a book. You can watch the movie, but you're watching someone else's interpretation of what the story is. With a book, you allow your imagination to run. The same thing with a photograph. You were presented with an image, and then your mind wanders. And that's the beauty of photography.
Well, I think it's also community too, in a way, because if you think about, especially in Miami, a lot of the gallery openings and things like that happen here, it's so community based. So you show up, it's usually the same, like similar group of people. You usually see people again at certain things, and I think that they're all synonymous. Like going to a gallery opening, watching a movie, reading a book, listening to live music. I think they're all synonymous. Watching a play, done by people. And I think that everything is moving in a way that's like fast on social media. But I think that those tangible experiences next to other human beings, created by human beings, is still just going to be. We'll find out in 10 years. But I don't know. I think that those human experiences and, seeing things on the wall. And
I will forever be a photographer.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard photo fan at heart. Aside from the photo on the wall, which is the final product, I adore the process.
Yeah.
The process of being behind the lens and street photography, for example, it's a phenomenal exercise for me. It clears my mind and it helps me in my observational skills and just walking around and going back to like slowing down and realizing the world around you. That process is fascinating to me, and I think a lot of photographers they find that to be like the most driving force behind their work is the actual process of capturing the image. We're talking about photography, but it goes for video as well. Just look at how long it took you to set this up, and just to get this shot, this framing, this lighting, all of these things, that's the process.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's where the beauty lies. The photo on the wall, that's the final product, that's the final result that people see.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as the photographer, the behind the scenes. and
Mm-hmm.
and to me, that's where the beauty really is. And uh the struggle and the anxiety and all the emotions, that's where it happens.
Yeah.
And for me, that's where it's at.
It's such an extension of yourself too. It's an extension of your feelings, of what you're going through, and I think it's cool to also observe the photography you used to make versus the photography you make now, because I think it says a lot about you as a person too. And I know I look at things that I made, 5 years ago, and I
Mhm.
look at things that I make right now, and there's similarities for sure, but I can look at me then and say, okay, I was in a completely different state of my life as right now, but
Yeah.
they still exist together next to each other. So I think it's really cool to see that transition visually, like out of somebody as well, which I feel like people, they don't know what all goes into it and might not know everything behind it. So
Yeah, and your environment dictates how you express yourself.
mhm.
Just everything that's happening in your personal life and in your love life and
Mhm.
just in your development and your human experience, that has a huge impact on the work that you're doing as an artist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and going back to change, we are constantly evolving. We're not the same person that we were yesterday. We're
Mhm.
not the same person that we were 5 years ago.
Yeah, I had one of those days today where I woke up and I was like, I feel like my mind is so clear.
Oh, nice.
Like I don't know what it just like I had like a
Every day.
I need chaos.
Yes.
Apparently. My toxic trait is that I need a little sprinkle of chaos here and there.
You know what? I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I also feel like I thrive in chaos.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a million things going on than nothing going
Yeah.
on. I
I
feel
hate
like,
that about myself though.
oh man, yes. It's a double-edged sword.
The overcommitment.
Yes. But there's beauty in chaos.
Yeah.
That's how the universe works. It's organized chaos, entropy.
Yeah.
And to me, that's beautiful because you get to a point where you're doing so much, and you I feel like a photograph. I stand still
Yeah.
and I observe everything that's going on around me. And have you ever seen in movies where they show just one person and everything around them is moving
Yeah.
super fast, like in
Yeah.
a crowd of people? That's how I feel sometimes with my ideas. Like I'm just standing and I'm observing my own mind.
Oh
and
yeah.
and when there's chaos, there's movement, there's things happening, there's life, there's energy, and that excites me.
Yeah.
It gives me a little bit of anxiety, but
I know. I feel the same way because there's times where I'm like, oh, I'm filming 6 episodes this week, and then I'm
yeah.
doing a video this weekend, and then I'm doing photo shoots and shooting an event and like running around doing all these things. And I'm like, oh, but I haven't painted in 6 months. And then I'm sitting there beating myself up for not doing that. And it's just like this never ending process of like trying to spread yourself in so many
Oh
different
my god.
directions. But I feel like every artist I've interviewed so far, we talk about kind of overcommitting themselves, and everybody does it in different ways. But that's, I feel like, maybe our toxic trait as an artist.
Yeah, it's one of our biggest hurdles. And you know why? Why, at least my view is because we see possibilities in everything,
Yeah.
and we are highly in touch with our curious side, and we're passionately exploring multiple avenues,
Hmm.
and that, at least for me, like I'm always looking to learn something new, uh, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. Oh, let me
Yeah.
try this.
Yeah,
And
because it's almost like a different voice. That
yes,
avenue is a completely different voice from what you've been using. It's like I feel like singers, I learned this recently about like accessing different registers of your voice. And I
mm,
feel like that's the same thing, like
oh,
learning different mediums as an artist, as a visual artist at least. It's kind
right.
of like a singer accessing different parts of their vocal range. So it's just a range.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and you gotta know your limits too,
Yeah.
and you gotta try things to know what works and what doesn't work. Uh, you know, but I will say this: saying no is a strong tool,
Yeah.
and it's one that I think that we all need to practice. Myself speaking,
Yeah.
and because overcommitting, you do stretch yourself very thin, and when you commit to like 20 things, sometimes like the 5 things that are really working, they start lacking a little bit, so you
Yeah.
gotta you gotta compromise, and dissect your time. I feel like that's another big obstacle that we face is
Hmm.
we feel like we don't have enough time during the day to do all the things that
Yeah.
we want to do.
I have to tell clients sometimes I'm like like literally ran out of hours. Like I didn't have enough hours. I woke up, started doing my stuff, and now it's 11 p.m. And
Yeah.
I don't even know where the day went.
Well, because it, and I mean this happens to all of us. We sometimes forget that we're human.
Yeah. I'm like, oh shit, it's 8 p.m. I haven't eaten today at
Yeah,
all. Like I need like a check
yeah,
in. Like I need somebody to be like,
yes.
have you eaten today? Because I will just forget.
Usually that's my dad. I call him
Yeah.
at night, and one of the first things he asks me is like, "Did you eat already?" And I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god,
Oh
no, I
fuck.
forgot to eat." Because you get so lost in the sauce,
Yeah.
and you're working, you're editing, and 2-3 hours pass by, and your stomach forgets to communicate to the brain that,
Yeah.
hey, I need food.
Yeah. Speaking of your dad and maybe family, I'm curious because I don't know if we've really talked about your family so much. I kind of want to know their take on what you do and like, are they proud of you? Are they confused by it? What's the dynamic there?
All of the above.
Yeah, I like that
So
though.
yeah, so my family, thankfully, has always been very supportive.
Good.
They will on family
Yeah.
togetherness. So when my family comes to my shows, the whole family comes, all my aunts and uncles and
Cute.
cousins, and my
The
aunt.
squad.
Yes, the whole squad. We have a WhatsApp group chat with the whole family, and the photo is the whole family at one of my exhibitions.
Aw, that's cute.
Yeah, and one of my aunts always brings me flowers, which I think it's adoring. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It makes me feel good. So it's great to have that support behind me.
Mhm.
Um, they always get excited whenever I tell them about a new opportunity that has been presented to me. So I appreciate that. It keeps me wanting to keep them engaged.
Mhm.
Uh, they don't always understand my methods. They don't always understand uh, the way that I do things or how I do or what I do.
Mhm.
But they're always very supportive. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. A lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
And a lot of working artists, their parents might look at them and be like, "Well, I wish you would have went to med school or something,"
Yeah.
but don't always get that. But I like to hear that your family is supportive. It's super
Yeah, yeah,
good.
they really are. And
Be the travel aspect of it.
mm.
She's like, you could just make art at home, like what are you doing in the middle of a van, like in the middle of the country and, in a desert? It's just one of those things that they don't really get that, and that's fine. But I feel like she also doesn't really get the concepts of it, but she's just like, oh, that's a nice photo, like that's enough. I'm like, that's the stamp of approval. Like, it's a nice photo from grandma.
Yeah.
um
It's great also getting feedback from about your work from non-artist people.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
that is, it's interesting because my
yes.
brother's not an artist, and he's like, I don't really get what's going on there, but yeah, it looks good. You know, like okay.
And sometimes there
Those kind of deep associations to every single thing going on around you all the time.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I also wonder, uh, what if I didn't complicate my life so much?
yeah, yeah,
And but then I wouldn't be me.
yeah.
So I do wonder that sometimes, and just what it would be like just to have a 9 to 5 and just go home and relax and watch TV, and
So you
that's
go to
it. And
bed and then you do
then
it again.
yes,
Yeah,
and just simple life.
yeah,
It's so hard for me to do that.
yeah,
It's so hard because I'm in my studio and my mind is going and I'm doing the work that I'm doing, but then I get home and I'm still thinking of ideas, of things that I want to do,
yeah.
of projects that I want to be a part of. And oh man, it's hard to turn that off.
I feel like I literally don't have enough time in my life. Like in my whole life,
Yeah.
like till I die,
Yeah.
you know, like I think if I die at 90, I'm still not gonna have enough time, like literally. But
Yeah.
that simple life, like my uncle is one of those people. He, works the same job he's worked for 30 years. He comes home to the house that he built on the land that he owns, and he just, comes home and he'll go hunting or whatever, and like that's it. Like he takes his
Yeah.
brain out and then he does it again, like every single day. That's just like 30 years of that like consistency, and I just can't even grasp it,
Yeah.
because
You gotta have a balance, because to that extreme, I know, just knowing myself, I know that I would get bored.
I would go
Yes.
crazy. I would lose my mind.
But it is good to have some sort of consistency,
Yeah.
something that you do, not necessarily every day, but something that keeps you grounded. For me, one of the things that allows me to do that is, and I don't do this every night, but I do it often enough, is before bed. I turn on, either I have two options, either Thelonious Monk or Chopin,
Yeah.
like just classical music or jazz,
Yeah.
and I play Sudoku.
Okay.
And that is honestly one of my happiest moments in my life.
I like that.
I'm just focused on the puzzle
Yeah.
and enjoying the music, and I'm just relaxed.
Yeah.
And that's one of like my consistent things that keeps me grounded.
Interesting. I did not know that about you. That's funny.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. I think everybody has to have like a decompression strategy,
Mm.
literally, when you're in this kind of realm, or else you'll lose your mind in the other direction.
Yeah.
So, No, that's super cool. I want to know, when did you start making work, like as a photographer? And did it start with photography, or did you draw or anything like that before?
It
I
did
can't
not
remember.
start with photography.
Okay.
Since a very early age, I knew that I was destined to be an artist, and I am grateful for the struggles.
Yeah.
And even to this day, just there's a million struggles, but I'm grateful for that because I'm doing what I love. And yeah, since a very early age, I started out drawing and I started out painting. Um, and then in high school, uh, I got um, I got a job at a restaurant. I saved up and I bought my first camera. And ever since then, I didn't look back. Just I've been just everything centered on photography.
Yeah.
In college, I took a film photography class, and I was in the dark room. I would spend like 10 hours a day in the dark room,
Yeah, me too.
and just I would forget to eat. I would forget to go outside. I was just enamored by the again by the process
Yeah.
and just engaging with the chemicals and seeing the photograph come to life. Just knowing that you captured an image either earlier that day or the day before, and the anticipation
Hmm.
of developing the photograph and then going into the dark room and just having the photo come to life and appear on the paper right in front of your eyes. That
Yeah.
to me was just so mesmerizing. uh was I was drawn to photography uh by another friend of mine,
Hmm.
with whom I grew up with. This is a person that I've known the longest, uh, in my life, as far as friends go. Um, we met in fourth grade, and she has always captured moments of our life growing up.
Hmm.
We went to the same elementary, middle school, high school. We went to college together,
Aw.
and she's always taking group photos, and so
Yeah. The designated
yes.
person.
Yeah, and so I grew up seeing my life, and in a time where, like, when I was growing up, smartphones weren't a thing,
Yeah.
right? So photos weren't just easily accessible, so this friend of mine, Vivian, who's a lovely human, uh she's the one that inspired me to pursue photography.
Nice. Aw. That's so
Yeah.
cute. Have you, and you photograph her as like a subject?
Surprisingly,
No?
very little.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think there's a lot of
Yeah.
times, well, people would be like, oh, well, you photograph your partner or stuff like that. Like, I feel like every relationship I've had, I've like really just like photographed them, like in a serious context, like, I want to
Yeah.
photograph you like once, like it never, I don't
It's
know.
hard to do that with the people closest to you.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's an exercise I've been trying to be better about,
yeah.
in like seriously documenting like the people that I'm really close to in that way, because I feel like, I don't know why I feel like I have to force myself to do that. It's strange.
I don't know either. I don't know that like what's that barrier
Yeah.
that keeps us from just, yeah, just engaging photographically with those closest to us.
I think for me, I want to hang on to things that I feel like I'm going to lose by when I
Mm.
shoot them,
Hmm.
And so I feel like maybe sometimes those people might feel like a constant in my life that I might, I feel like I'm not going to lose them. But like as I've lost them throughout the year, I'm like, throughout the years, I'm like, well, fuck,
Wow.
like I am, like I do need to photograph these things. Like I am going to lose these things one day, and as sad and serious as that is,
Well, such
it's
is
like,
life.
yeah, it's just like that boundary where you don't really realize it until it's already happened. So
Oh man, I you just just planted a seed in my head. Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that that is a great exercise.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm on a mission to photograph Vivian.
Yeah, photograph Vivian. I want to see. I want to see
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
And send me them, and we'll have to do like a mini pod
yeah.
talking about Vivian.
Yeah,
No, but it's good. I think that it's like a unique responsibility almost that we have in a way, because there's a lot of times where people are like, "Oh, thank God you brought your camera,"
yeah.
because when we think about it, we're like, "Oh shit, the only thing that would be here right now is a cell phone photo," and
Yeah,
nobody likes those.
yeah.
But
I mean, the same thing with my family. I mean, I photographed my family a little bit. We have some iconic family photos.
yeah.
Eh, but like seriously, like photograph for and include them in as a part of my work.
Hmm.
I haven't really fully done that. Maybe with my brother a little bit.
Hmm.
My brother and I are physically we're very similarly
Hmm.
looking. So that's something that I've explored a little bit. Um, and and I photographed him, my sister, and my parents, and uh, but because they're so close to me. I do photograph them. I do have this other thing that it's like I kind of like I'm mad at myself for it,
Yeah.
and sometimes I hold photos hostage.
Yeah. I know
For
you do. I know. You're
yeah,
still holding on to like my favorite photos you've ever taken.
yeah,
And I like forced you to show everybody around
yeah.
us all the time, but whatever.
you know, I so something that I that draws me to photography is the ever growing search for perfection.
Hmm.
And I can get very meticulous and into editing photos, and I can spend hours just on one photograph
Yeah.
until it's perfect, quote unquote. uh, and that's something that I need to learn to let go, and yeah, and just share more of my work,
Yeah.
because I do hold a lot of work hostage. And I don't know what it is. I guess I'm just waiting for the right time, but is there ever a right time? uh
Yeah. I
yeah.
have had that conversation with myself a lot in the past year where it's kind of like I'm just literally in like a fuck it mentality right now
Mm,
where I'm just like whatever, just literally just fuck it.
yeah.
Like it's something that if I'm in the space right this second, I might not be in that space in 6 months. So let me just do it. But for everybody listening, Mateo has this amazing set of self portraits that he just refuses to share with the universe. And I love them. And I'm hoping one day you actually release them. But I kind of want to talk about self portraits with you because I don't think it's really been a subject on the show.
Okay.
I'm doing a self portrait project. You've done a ton of self portraits. What is that experience like for you being the subject in your work?
it's it's a unique process because I'm working by myself, and I am both behind and in front of the camera.
Mhm.
So it's an extended process. I set up the camera, I set up the composition, the lighting, all of the elements, uh, and then I position myself within the composition as a subject. So, I put the camera on a timer, or I use intervalometer. Um, and,
What is that?
intervalometer is where where you allow the camera to take photos automatically uh, in intervals of specific time.
Yeah.
So you can set it up to take a photo every 2 seconds, every 5 seconds, every minute, every hour.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're working on.
That's how I do them too.
Yes, but you allow the camera to just work on its own.
Yeah.
You just set the parameters of how often you want the camera to take the photos. So anyway, so I do that, and I position myself within the composition. But then I have to go back behind the camera and check my position, my placement in space, uh, my position in correlation to everything that's around me. How is my body positioned in comparison to another object within the composition? So there's a lot of back and forth, and that's a beautiful process, but it's also exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And however, I don't know that I would like to have an assistant when I'm doing self portraits.
Yeah.
It's a very intimate process. It's a conversation that I'm having with myself, and I have a very particular vision of what I want, and it's hard to relate that to someone else because they're not you. They're not in your mindset. I think self portraits are very important, even if you're not an artist or if you're not a photographer. I think that is something that you need to practice. And I'm not talking about the classic selfie to post on social media. I'm talking about a serious connection with yourself,
Where
and
you perceive yourself.
yes, where you actually sit down and question who you are, and understand who you are as a human being in that time and moment, and in reality. uh just take a moment to sit with yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's the nature of a self portrait, is where you are in that in that point in your life. uh so I do self portraits periodically. Actually, I have this beautiful quiet practice where uh, when I photograph film, every time that I load a new roll of film, the first photo is always a self portrait.
Oh, okay.
Always.
I like that.
Always, always.
That's
So
like what is it? Gary Winogrand, every time he loaded a roll of film, he would like take a picture of his feet, and everybody
Yeah.
thought that it was like this philosophical thing, but it was like literally him just
Yeah.
like loading the film. But that's cool. I would actually really love to see all of those together
Yes.
one day.
So, and then that's a goal for me, is to uh eventually just gather all those self portraits and display them somehow.
Yeah.
It there's so there's two main reasons why I do that. One, and I'm talking about 35 millimeter film. Because if I were to do that with 120, I'd just be wasting one frame that
Yeah, one
you
out
really
of 10.
yes, you really can't afford. But with 35,
Yeah.
I can afford that frame. So if you've ever loaded a 35 millimeter roll of film into a camera, you have to wind it a few times, and sometimes the first frame is half exposed to
Yeah.
light, so you kind of lose that first frame regardless. So I take that as an opportunity to just take a self portrait, and then I really start shooting on frame too.
That's also
Yeah.
kind of cool because it's a disconnection from that frame, even though it's kind of an important one.
Yes.
That's a interesting concept. Well, there you go. That's your exercise of letting go in
Yes.
a way, because it might come out fucked up. It might come out really cool. So
Right.
yeah. Oh, I like that. I want to see those.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
gonna hold those hostage for a decade too. I already know. That's
Yeah.
fine. You can have it.
So shooting film, one of my favorite cameras is an Olympus camera. It's an old camera that used to belong to my grandfather. And my grandfather traveled the world a lot, and he wasn't a photographer, but he always carried a camera with him, and uh, and just recorded his travels. And I love using that camera. One, because it belonged to him.
Yeah.
So just I feel like I'm keeping him alive in a way by using his camera. And two, it's it's a film camera, but uh, it's automatic in the sense that it's only zone focusing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have control of the shutter speed or anything. The only thing that I control is the film speed and the aperture.
Mm.
That's
Okay.
it. And I love using the camera because I let go of controlling the settings in the
Of it being
camera.
perfect.
Yes, and just let the
Mm.
camera just capture, and I'm focused on the frame,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
That's
And
super cool.
yes,
Yeah, that's super
yeah.
weird. I don't know. Yeah, I do like having control over the settings. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing when you're doing like alternative process with sound types and stuff like that. You kind of don't have control of the outcome, or even I don't know if you've ever done like pinhole stuff, things like that. You have
Mm,
it's just like a free for all on things like
yeah,
that. So that's super cool though. You shoot medium format too. Have you
I do.
shot large format?
I have not so much. I would love to dive deeper into it in the future.
Yeah,
It is a long process.
it's a huge investment.
Yes, I do have a large format camera,
Okay.
uh, but I've used it, man, maybe like 3 or 4 times in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Uh, just because, well, one, film is very expensive,
Yeah.
and
Also, just to give people insight that might not know things about photography or might not know things about cameras, large format is basically the big cameras that you usually see in old movies where they put the thing over their head, they
hmm
load it, they with the big sheet film and, click from separately like from a little, remote shutter
yeah,
basically. And you only get one frame. So
yes,
your rolls of film like 35, you get 24 to 36 frames. Then you get medium format is usually 10 to 12, sometimes depending. I think it's 10.
yeah,
Yeah,
10,
10. And then yeah, with large format, it's just one that you get.
yeah.
So it's like one sheet of film per shot, which is crazy.
Also, when you're looking through a large format camera,
It's upside down.
and reversed,
Yeah.
so it's flipped and upside down, so you're seeing the world very differently, and
Yeah.
it's strange to just even focus,
Yeah.
and to get your composition it takes a long time, so it's going back to like slowing down, that really forces you to sit there and
Yeah.
practice patience, and because you have only the one frame, you got to make it count.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, I'll tell you this, I haven't found the right project to shoot in large format.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
it's a crazy process to
yeah,
just have in your life. I remember in school I had a class that was just large format, and I remember just even trying to do my final. I was like, "Oh my god, the shit that
yeah,
I have to carry around to take this photo right now
yeah.
is insane." Like
Hey, it's also a
like you
big, heavy
literally like
camera.
load up
Yeah.
your back seat just to take one photo. Like I don't think people have the understanding of, I don't know, it's a lot, but it's so beautiful, the final outcome of it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I don't know, I love the quality of images, and anytime I see somebody doing it in today's realm, I'm like, yes. It's so cool. Even medium format too, it's one of my medium format is my favorite to look at,
Yeah.
like I think it's just so beautiful. But
Yeah, I mean the framing too, the aspect ratio, the 4 by 5,
mhm.
it's a little more squared,
Yeah,
so it
mine
makes
is
it.
square, the
Oh,
Hasselblad is square.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I feel like that
That's
makes it more intimate.
Yeah, it's a completely different construction of images,
Yeah,
because you always think the rule of thirds, things like that. It
yeah.
doesn't really exist like that in Square to me. I feel like everything is very like centralized, and it's got to interact with the border and things like that. Like it's
So,
so
it's
meticulous.
funny you mentioned that. So, just recently I watched a video on composition. Not that I have any trouble in composition, but I always like to go back to the basics and
Yeah.
just refresh and also just see what other people are talking about. And I saw this video on YouTube where this guy was he he threw out the window the rule of thirds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. That's kind of like what everyone has been.
Preaching.
Yes. But so he's talking more about the way that we should frame compositions is relationships,
Yeah.
relationships between objects within the frame, and sometimes it doesn't follow the rule of thirds. Sometimes it doesn't follow the golden ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to trust your instinct on the aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
And but back to like how I was saying, the process of me being the subject and the photographer in my self portraits, it's a back and forth, and I have to gauge what my relationship is to the objects and the environment.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's a much better way to think about framing and composition. Uh, because you're not rigid to the rule of thirds.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I wouldn't dismiss it completely, I think that if you're getting into photography, if you want to learn photography, definitely learn the rule of thirds.
Well, it's like learning the rules and then learning how to break them
Yes.
properly. Then that's when I feel like you're a great photographer.
Yeah.
Once you have that understanding of how to break the rules properly and to, really make that image make sense, even though it's not supposed to, that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah.
But going into the self-portraits, I kind of don't think about it. I think about it in the relationship aspect, yes. I set up like the frame that I want, and then I do the interval thing, and I kind of run into the frame, and I might like run around, I might jump, I might dance, and just like move, and like I just like go, and literally whatever happens, and then I just trust that there's gonna be one.
Yes.
But that happened recently where I was just like, fuck it. I was in California. You can see this photo on my Instagram, whatever. But I was on the coast and the sun was setting, and I was like, I was shooting this way, and then I turned around and saw the sunset, and I was like, holy shit, and I just like put my camera down really quick and like ran into the frame. And I like had one shot where I like put my arms up. I didn't even like calculate where I was in the frame, nothing, but like the sun was like right in between my hands in the frame.
Oh,
and I was
beautiful.
like, I came back and I saw it and I was like, that's it. Like perfect. That's
Yes.
I don't know how that happened, but it happened. It's serendipitous in that way, but I think it's kind of cool to.
And those moments come from a combination of one, trusting your intuition, and two is practicing doing that.
Yeah.
I feel like those opportunities present themselves the more that you do them. Someone said once that they get luckier the harder that they work.
Yeah. Your hit rate is higher.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're putting yourself in the situations where you allow opportunities to present themselves. And yeah, and sometimes taking a self portrait, as you mentioned, you dance and you move in front of the camera and everything, and you spend 30 minutes just different positions, and then you go back and you realize that the first photo you took, that was it.
Fine.
That was it.
Literally. That's happened before. I did a little segment in the White Sands, and it was the first photo, like my first real self portrait, where I stood like away from the camera. Like I had taken portraits of like with my Hasselblad, like of me in reflections, things like that. But it was the first time I really like put it on the camera, walked away from it, and just like let it happen. But as I was walking into the frame, there was a shot that I was like, that's the one.
That's
it. Like there's no footprints in the sand. It was just like perfect,
Nice.
And I don't know. I really love the serendipitous aspect of what you can get from self-portraits and just running around and looking like a crazy person on the beach or something.
Yeah. And like you are your own feedback, going back, you don't have anyone behind the camera telling you, oh, move over here, or just 2 inches to the left, or you have to gauge that yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I love self-portraits. I didn't think that I would end up doing a project out of it, but it is, I don't know, it's an interesting experience that I agree with you. I think every photographer needs to do it, and have that perception of themselves. And, because at the end of the day, you are photographing other people. You're perceiving other people. You should make the attempt to perceive yourself.
I also think that it's good practice to be photographed by other photographers.
Yeah.
Just allow yourself to be the subject.
Yeah.
It helps you understand when you photograph people,
Mm-hmm.
what they might be thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone is comfortable being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So just you putting yourself in that position, it helps you better understand your subjects. Um, it just and it's good practice.
Yeah. I kind of hate it, but I do it. I do it for other people, but it's very stressful to me. But
Well, we're comfortable being behind the camera and always being the ones capturing,
Mm-hmm.
just everything. But yeah, it's good practice to be a sitter.
Yeah. A sitter.
Yeah,
I
it
like
just
that.
and also it's you're practicing letting go of control.
Yeah.
You're behind the camera and you're directing everything. You're in charge of the lighting, the camera settings, the composition, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So being in front of the camera, you just okay, you take charge and I'm just here.
here.
Yeah. And I'm just here. So there goes another way of practicing to let go.
Yeah.
It's also beautiful to see how other photographers view you and
Yeah.
yeah, and how they want to present you to the world.
Yeah.
And just full circle back to the woman that I photographed for that exhibition, the Compassion Project.
Yeah.
I went in there to photograph her.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to be the one being photographed as well, and it resulted in one of my favorite photos,
Right.
one of my all-time favorite photos.
Yeah.
And completely unexpected, but I allowed myself to just let someone else call the shots. And
Yeah. I think that's a good concept in life though, is just like allowing things to happen to you instead
Mhm.
of like trying to control them. That's something actually me and Star have been talking about lately. Mama Star giving me life advice, but she's like, just let things happen,
Yeah.
just let it happen. Let it be, let it happen, let people do what they're gonna do. And yeah, just trying to be better about that.
Well, not entirely. So I agree with you, but I always refer back to having balance,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because but personally speaking, most of my life I've been letting things happen,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel that I need to take a bit more control.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
I feel
finding
like
that
yeah, it's
that
like
balance.
controlling what you can and
Hmm.
then letting go of what you can't.
Yes, and not exactly not stressing over the things that are out of your control,
Yeah.
but also so it's you can think of it more as like setting parameters for
Mm-hmm.
things to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just setting your personal boundaries and okay, this is the extreme, this is the other extreme, and just let things happen in between.
Yeah.
Let things flow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the way to go.
The life philosophy. Well, I feel like this has been a super good talk. I feel like we could probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
I have been asking everybody. You already talked about music that you are listening to, but I want to know what your most listened to song or artist is right now.
Ooh.
As a segue out.
Man, that's a great question. So there's three main genres that I listen to on a daily.
Yeah.
That is that's jazz, classical music,
Yeah.
and instrumental hip hop.
Okay. Like a lo-fi situation?
No,
Oh,
like
okay.
underground, old school hip hop. I'm talking like Jay Dilla, Pete Rock.
Okay.
Just very like upbeat hip hop. And I listen to it instrumentally because I like to dive into the beats.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Lyrics can have influence.
so yes, they can, but they can also be distracting.
Yeah, for sure.
And I go back to photograph being like a book is that you get a little glimpse of what's happening and then you let your imagination run.
Mhm.
So that's why I like instrumental music. That's why I also listen to jazz and classical music. There's no lyrics in there.
Yeah.
And that allows me to have flow,
Okay.
and that's what I mostly listen to.
Cool. I like that. I've been kind of picking everybody's brain at the end of the episodes and I'm curious, And everybody's answer is wildly different. It's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this has been a really good talk. I'm really glad we got to do this.
Yes, absolutely.
Also catch up and see each other again before you run away to New York. And yeah, I'm going to miss you. for the next, 2 months you're going to be gone, or
Yeah.
3 months?
3 months.
3 months. All right. Well, best of luck to you in New York.
Thank you.
Miami will miss you.
Yes.
But yeah, thanks so much for being on the show. Once again, you guys, this is Mateo. I'm going to link everything in the bio, link his social media, his website. You can see his projects and see what he's up to. But other than that, this has been the Little Art Studio podcast. Once again, my name is Ashlyn McKibben, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.